Hello and welcome. This is Notibot Yenji. In a rapidly changing global landscape, tensions are escalating as the Iran war continues to take its toll on energy markets and international relations. This week, the United States has faced a significant depletion of its interceptor stockpiles, while Iran has made a shocking discovery of Hitler posters in the country. We'll also explore how the war is pushing Europe back to nuclear energy, and the dramatic measures being taken by the Philippines to secure its energy future. Let's dive into the latest updates. The depleted stockpiles of U.S. interceptor missiles, critical to defending against Iranian ballistic missile threats, pose a pressing national security concern that could take years to rectify. A new U.S. Congress study has shed light on the inventory of interceptors available to the U.S. in the near future, raising concerns about the depletion of the THAAD ballistic missile interception system. The study, published last week, reveals that the rate of use of THAAD interceptors during Operation Epic Fury has further reduced the limited stock of interceptors. According to the document, the U.S. system has reached an interception rate of about 90% of all Iranian ballistic missiles and drones, with a focus on the UAE. The study found that half of all interceptions used to defend Israeli skies in the operation against Iran in June were made by the THAAD system, totaling 92 interceptions out of an estimated 632 interceptors. The Congressional Research Service, CRS, estimates that it could take 3 to 8 years to replenish the THAAD missile stockpile, each of which costs an estimated $12.7 million. The Foreign Policy Research Institute, FPRI, attributes the coalition's ability to continue attacking to the sheer number of munitions available, but notes that the strategic constraint lies in the interceptors that keep bases alive, long-range weapons that hold enemy launchers at risk, and sensor architecture that makes missile defense efficient. The depletion of the THAAD system raises concerns about the U.S. military's ability to defend against Iranian ballistic missiles and drones. The operation, which began in June, has seen a significant escalation of U.S. military action in the region. The involvement of the U.S., Israel, and other coalition partners underscores the growing regional tensions and the potential for a protracted conflict. The implications of this development are significant, as it highlights the challenges facing the U.S. military in defending against a determined adversary. Following a disturbing trend in other parts of the world, Iran is now experiencing a surge in the display of Nazi-era propaganda posters. A series of disturbing images has emerged in Iran, showing posters bearing Adolf Hitler's image and a quote attributed to him. These posters have been circulating on social media, shared by users claiming they were photographed in cities such as Babelsar and Kermanshah. The message on the posters appears to be aimed at Iranians accused of siding with foreign enemies, with a quote attributed to Hitler stating that those who cooperate with an occupier are akin to those who are happy about the violation of their own mother. The Jerusalem Post has reported that the quote is fabricated, and social media users have condemned the use of Hitler's image in public messaging. Some have noted the eerie presence of the Hitler poster alongside a larger public poster of Mojtaba Khamenei, Iran's new supreme leader. This juxtaposition has sparked outrage, with some comparing the Iranian regime's display of Hitler's image to an attempt to garner support from anti-Semitic groups. The appearance of these posters in recent months coincides with a surge in Iranian authorities' efforts to root out alleged foreign spies and collaborators. In recent months, hundreds of arrests have been made, with many accused of cooperation with Israel, the United States, or foreign-based opposition outlets. This crackdown has raised concerns about the Iranian regime's increasingly authoritarian and repressive tactics. The display of Hitler's image in this context is particularly disturbing, as it suggests that the regime is using anti-Semitic rhetoric to justify its actions. The implications for Iran's already fraught relations with the international community are significant, and highlight the need for closer scrutiny of the regime's human rights record. As tensions with Iran escalate, the continent is reassessing its energy strategy, with nuclear power once again poised to play a prominent role. In recent weeks, Iran's military aggression in the Middle East has had far-reaching consequences for global energy markets, particularly for Europe. The conflict began with a series of missile strikes by the United States and Israel against Iranian targets, including military facilities and nuclear sites. In response, Iran has launched attacks on energy-rich Gulf nations, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The Iranian military has also imposed a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, a key waterway that passes through the Persian Gulf and is critical for the global oil and gas trade. The blockade has sent oil prices soaring past $100 a barrel, causing widespread concern among energy traders and policymakers. The impact on Europe is significant, as the continent relies heavily on imported oil and gas to meet its energy needs. European nations, such as Germany and France, have already struggled with high electricity costs compared to trade rivals like China and the United States. The Iranian war is pushing Europe back to nuclear energy as a potential solution to its energy security challenges. Several European countries, including the United Kingdom and the Netherlands, have been exploring the possibility of developing new nuclear power plants to reduce their reliance on imported oil and gas. This shift in policy is driven by a growing concern that Europe's energy independence is under threat due to the escalating tensions in the Middle East. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, the Philippines is taking drastic action to address its energy crisis, declaring a national emergency and shifting towards coal power. The Philippines has declared a national energy emergency amid the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, which is disrupting global oil shipments. The declaration, made by President Ferdinand Marcos, allows officials to take direct action against fuel hoarding or profiteering. Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi stated that the Philippines will boost coal-fired power plant output to keep electricity costs down as gas shipments are severely impacted by the war. The country's energy supply is dwindling, with only 45 days of fuel left, and is seeking waivers from the U.S. State Department to secure oil from U.S.-sanctioned countries, including Iran and Venezuela. The government aims to procure an additional 1 million barrels of oil to build its buffer. This move is part of the country's efforts to mitigate the impact of the conflict on its energy sector. With approximately 2.4 million Filipinos living and working in the Middle East, the government is also preparing for the possible rescue and evacuation of its citizens. The Department of Migrant Workers has been instructed to be on high alert, while motorcycle taxi drivers and public transport workers are receiving financial assistance of 5,000 pesos each. The Philippines' decision to boost coal power and seek oil from sanctioned countries is a response to the growing energy crisis caused by the war. The country's energy sector is heavily reliant on imports, and the disruption to these supplies has left the nation vulnerable to fuel shortages. The government's efforts to secure alternative energy sources will likely have significant implications for the country's energy landscape and its ability to cope with the ongoing crisis. A recent warning from a top Iranian analyst has sent shockwaves through the Middle East, sparking concerns about potential military action in the region. A recent warning from an Iranian security analyst has sent shockwaves throughout the Middle East region. Morteza Simiari, a national security analyst for Iran's state broadcaster IRIB, has stated that Tehran is prepared to capture the coastlines of Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates if the U.S. makes any mistake in the region. This warning comes amid heightened tensions between Iran and the U.S., which has been involved in military operations in the region since 2014. Simiari's comments, which were aired on IRIB, emphasize Iran's military readiness to take action against any perceived threat. He stated that Iran's armed forces are prepared to seize Emirati and Bahraini coasts, fundamentally altering the regional landscape. The UAE Foreign Minister, Abdullah bin Zayed, has previously denounced Iranian attacks on the country, stating that it will never be blackmailed by terrorists. This exchange between the two nations highlights the ongoing tensions between Iran and the U.S., which have been exacerbated by the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. The threat posed by Iran's military expansion in the region has significant implications for global security. The U.S. and its allies have long been concerned about Iran's growing military presence in the Middle East, which has been linked to the country's support for militant groups and ballistic missile development. The seizure of Bahrain and UAE coastlines would be a major escalation of the conflict, potentially drawing in other regional players and sparking a wider war. The situation remains highly volatile, with the international community holding its breath as the standoff between Iran and the U.S. continues to unfold. A warning from Tehran has sent shockwaves across the region, as a senior Iranian expert warns of swift retaliation if the U.S. makes a mistake. A growing threat in the Middle East has sparked concerns over the weekend. Iran, a nation with a long history of regional tensions, has warned that it will seize the coastlines of Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates if the U.S. makes any mistake in the region. According to an Iranian security analyst, Morteza Simiari, Iran's military is ready to take action in response to any perceived U.S. aggression. This warning comes days after the UAE Foreign Minister, Abdullah bin Zayed, denounced Iranian attacks on the country. Bin Zayed stated that the UAE will never be blackmailed by terrorists in a post on X, in response to comments by UAE Presidential Advisor Anwar Gargash about the country's deepening cooperation with the U.S. Gargash had previously stated that Iran's aggression in the region carries deep geopolitical repercussions and emphasized the UAE's need for security partnerships with the U.S. However, a former French ambassador to the U.S., Gerard Arad, countered that such a policy would deepen your dependence on a country that has led yours into a disastrous conflict without caring about your interests. The tensions between Iran and the U.S. have been escalating since February, when the U.S. and Israel launched a series of attacks on Iranian targets in neighboring Gulf states. The UAE has since intercepted hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones, highlighting the escalating threat in the region. The situation has sparked concerns over the potential for further conflict and the impact on regional stability. Thank you for joining us for this special news recap. We'll continue to follow the developments in the Middle East and bring you updates as more information becomes available. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the latest news and analysis. We'll keep you informed as this situation unfolds. Until next time, we bid you farewell and wish you a safe and informed day.